Welcome back, MTG Joe here, back from vacation. I appreciate the support while I was gone. And a new standard set is in the books. We have Dominaria United that just dropped on Thursday. So this is an earlier weekly meta breakdown for standard. We will look at best of one standard right now, and then throughout the next week, coming over the weekend. I'm recording this on Saturday, but for the week of like Monday, we'll do standard best of one, best of three, explore, historic, whatever I can get the data from, to show you what the best decks are in the new format with all these new cards that are coming out. Notably, this is early on, so people are still trying to figure out stuff, but if you're looking for a deck to either you have some cards and you want to upgrade, or just seeing what's being played right now and kind of hedge against that to see what the meta is like, this is a good way to get started. We do this every week here on the channel, and we get the data from Untap.gg, which is a companion tool to what you see on the screen. It tracks your win rates, loss rates, deck collections, suggests decks you can build. Like you can see here, for example, this first deck, I own all the cards, but this next deck, I need a bunch of wild cards in order to build it. So that is a way to kind of look at it in that regard. Very helpful tool, has in-game overlays. The link is in the video description if you do want to copy that and there click that link. It'll get you set up. It's free to use a whole bunch of the functionality. I will paste these deck lists into the video description, so you can just copy and import them as well to MTG Arena. But if you're signed up with Untapped, you just click the button and it imports it right away for you. So we are looking at September 1st to September 3rd, 2 days, two-ish days. Platinum to Mythic rank, 30,000 games of best of one standard. And we will go over a couple of the decks that I've pulled up. I've ignored decks that are largely just the past standard, that like there's an green-white enchantment deck that hasn't been touched. And then there's also, I'll kind of link it, the Crokies is doing a best of three standard tournament today. So I have the link up here as well. We'll take a look at that and see what some of those deck lists are, but you can check out, that's in flight right now. They've only done 3 rounds. So we will jump into it. The top deck right now is Mono Black Control. So notably, Vanishing Verse is gone, Blood on the Snow is gone, all the creature lands are gone, and that's, I think, the thing that's hurting me the most right now. Your mana bases are just mana. There's no dual face cards, stuff like that. But in any case, this is a mono black kind of control deck. You're playing Liliana of the Veil, very, very powerful card from modern days. I played this in the original standard, was always a beast. But this is 3 mana, +1 they discard, -2 they sack a creature, and then -6 they separate. You basically separate their permanents into 2 piles, they sacrifice one of them. So this is an attrition-based card, you attack their hand. It's a clean answer to Graveyard Trespasser, depending on your opponent's board state. But what you're doing with this deck, you just got a bunch of removal. You have Cut Down, which is kind of like the new Fatal Push. So a limited, like a 1 mana instant speed removal spell that has some limited conditions. You have Infernal Grasp as kind of your main removal options now. 3 Meathook Massacres. So I've actually been playing this deck since coming back today. I just switched it. There was 1 too many lands in the deck I found. 25 was good. I was flooding a lot. You also don't need Field of Ruin. There's no creature lands anymore. And all the lands, like unless you want to try to color screw your opponent, this will hurt you probably more than anything. So I just cut these 2 and then just went up 1 swamp. And then I went up to the 4th Tenacious Underdog. The one thing I found with this deck is you do want threats. And this is a good way to kind of get that. So then you have Bankbuster for card advantage, Graveyard Trespasser. Soul Transfer works pretty nice in this deck because you have the artifacts, as well as the Meathook Massacres, so you could potentially get both modes. You also have Sheoldred the Apocalypse in this deck. So 4 mana, 4/5 Death Touch. Whenever you draw a card, you gain 2 life. Whenever your opponent draws a card, they lose 2 life. So this is a way to kind of gain life back in this deck. You have Sorin for card advantage. Some of the decks are actually using the Evoke Scorpion that forces a player to draw 2 and lose 2 life paired with Sheoldred. But these deck, like this particular build, doesn't have a density of creatures high enough to really take advantage. You don't have your eye twitches like you used to. I don't think Shambling Ghast is still legal. I think it was part of AFR, so that would be out. And then your top end's 4 Invoke Despairs, which is one of the most powerful cards right now in Standard. Cleaning up a bunch of answers, giving you card draw. And then Junji. There's no Vanishing Verse right now, so these dragons seem a lot more reasonable when they're not getting exiled for 2 mana. So this one is, for the most part, you could either attack your opponent's hand or it was reanimating. The one time I've cast it thus far, it's just been to bring back like Graveyard Trespasser, which was pretty nice. So for mono black control, we go to mono black aggro. So there's an overlap in some of the cards that were featured here. So we still have our Lilianas, we still have our Sheoldreds. This version's playing 4 of Sheoldred. You still have your Trespassers and your Tenacious Underdogs, but we have a couple new cards in Evolved Sleeper. So 1 mana, 1/1 that evolves over time. So you can pay an extra 1 black mana, it becomes a 2/2. Then you can pay another 2 mana and it becomes a 3/3. And then you can pay 3 mana and then it gets put a counter on it, so it becomes a 4/4 and you draw a card and lose a life. So good mana sink, and it's a 1-drop that evolves over time. We're also seeing Knight of Dusk's Shadow. So 2 mana, 2/2, opponents can't gain life, and then you can just pump some mana into it. It also has Menace. This version's playing Dread Fugue as a pseudo kind of Thoughtseize adjacent card. Some cut downs mixed in there as well. Some of the decks are playing the 2/1 skeleton that comes back if a skeleton died, but notably, like, there's not really skeletons in this format, so it's a little bit hard to prop it. Next up, we have Esper Zur. So this is built around a Zur Eternal Schemer. So 3 mana, Esper, 1/4 flying. Enchantment creatures you control have Death Touch, Lifelink, and Hexproof. And then for 2 mana, you target non-aura enchantment you control becomes a creature in addition to its other types and has base power and toughness equal to its mana value. So this plays really nicely with something like Leyline Binding, which is 6 mana but gets a cost reduction for each of your domain colors. So if you have a forest, mountain, island, swamp, plains. So this becomes a 6/6 lifelink, death touch, hexproof, just kind of a beater. So you're pairing that with some removal spells and kind of an Esper control shell. So you have like cut downs, Rona's Vortex, which is a bounce effect that can also be kicked to put at the bottom of your library. You have Runic Shot as removal, make disappear Spirited Companion. It's a 2 mana, 1/1, draws a card that then can be upgraded to a 2/2 with lifelink. Some Meathook, Wedding Announcement, Rafine. We have Archangel of Wrath. So this deck's a little kind of odd in terms of the mana base because you're trying to play Domain as well. So you'll see like a red kicker here where it deals additional damage, and then you'll see Domain, so you have like all the triomes here to hit those other colors and get the advantage. You also have a 1 of Sarah Paragon. So 4 mana, 3/4, basically Luris kind of effect. I get to cast any non-land permanent with 3 CMC or less from your graveyard each turn. And you could also play lands, which is nice. And then you can also, when it dies, when that card is removed from the battlefield, it gets exiled instead. You gain 2 life. You got Wandering Emperor, and then Cruelty of Gix. So this has Read Ahead, so you can skip some chapters. But it's like a discard effect for creatures or planeswalkers, Chapter 1. Grim Tutor, Chapter 2. And then a Reanimation effect on Chapter 3. So then we have Mono Red Aggro. So I know a lot of folks tune in for asking me about Mono Red. I haven't tried Mono Red yet. I was playing on mobile while I was in Portugal, so it was a little difficult to build. I was just playing like Abzan Greasefang in Explorer because it was pretty easy to add for Liliana of the Veils. But I will try out some Mono Red later this week and report back. But we got some new additions to Mono Red. So you have like Hammer Hand, which enchant creature enters the battlefield. It prevents something from blocking. Also gives it +1/1 in haste. So you still have your Kumano. We have Phoenix Chick, 1 mana, 1/1, flying haste, can't block. Whenever you attack with 3 or more creatures, you may pay 2 red mana. If you do, you can return the Phoenix from your graveyard to the battlefield, tapped and attacking with 1/1 counters. So this is a nice recursive threat. A big thing is like you get removed, all your stuff gets removed. You want to be able to get stuff back from the graveyard. We also have Shivan Devastator. So just fireball on a creature, 1 mana, like basically X is the power, as much mana as you want to throw into it, flying haste. This version's on the adversaries, so we also have 8 pieces of burn and lightning strike play with fire that can be flashed back. We also have Radha's Firebrand, so 2 mana, 3/1. When it attacks target creature, defending player controls with power less than Radha can't be blocked. And then it has the Domain ability. So Radha gets +2/2 until end of turn. This ability costs 1 less for each basic land you control. So it's going to cost 5 mana at all times because you have the mountains. But I think it's reasonable still. It's kind of an extra effect, but it's really just to get blockers out of the way. So some of these decks have like had different, like off the get-go, I think I would rather play 2 Squeeze than the Chandra. but I would try out like this configuration as a starting point. I like to be more aggressive in best of one. Chandra is more of a burn package, I think, where the card advantage might be reasonable, and I guess you have enough 1-drops, but really like this isn't a 1-drop, and this is contingent on another creature. So that's something I would have to try out, but you have Reckless Stormseeker, Thundering Raiju, which is a lot of haste, which I like in the deck. A good way to press advantage against some of these slower decks. Then we have Jund Midrange. So this is actually a Reanimator style deck. So you have like Lord Windgrace enters the battlefield or attacks, you put a land card from your graveyard onto the battlefield. So this takes advantage of stuff going in your graveyard. You have Teachings of Curlin that mills 3 cards. Then you have Cruelty of Gix, which you basically could skip ahead to chapter 3. And really what you want to do with this deck, I don't think this gives you... Sorry, some of these cards like have not seen play before, so just familiarizing myself. So basically, turn 5, what you want to do is play Cruelty of Gix, go to chapter 3, get back Titan of Industry. You also have like Cemetery Desecrator, bunch of ways to put cards into the graveyard between like Fable, the Teachings, Elder Dragon War has the discard any number of cards and draw that many. So you're kind of just throwing stuff into the graveyard and then trying to get back Titan of Industry and ideally copy it with the Fable of the Mirror Breaker. And lastly, this deck's not got the greatest win rate, but if it's something fun you want to try, 5-color Jodah Humans. So Jodah itself is a very powerful card. 5 mana, 5/5, legendary creatures you control get plus XX, where X is the number of legendary creatures you control. And then whenever you cast a legendary spell, you get to cascade for a lower value, so you could just kind of spam a bunch of creatures. This is a human version with a whole bunch of legendaries in there, so you get to take advantage. You got some new ones in like Urtai Resurrected, 4 mana, 3/2 flash, can counter target spell, activate abilities, trigger abilities, controller draws a card, or destroy another target creature or planeswalker. You see like stuff like Lagera in here, Shana in here. If you gain life, you can pay X and draw X cards. So Catilda, Denick, like a whole bunch of kind of stuff like that mixed in there. Lastly, we have MTG Melee. So this is the site for Croakies. So some of these decks, normally they'll have names, but given that it's a new format, these haven't been named yet. But you see stuff like the Jund version of the deck. So you'd have to kind of click into these right now as it kind of goes on. This looks like an Esper kind of mid-rangey shell. So I take a look, see what jumps out to you. I'm not going to go through each of these, especially with them not being named. Normally, there is some utility in this because it gives you the whole meta breakdown. We can kind of see, but I want to just include this for now if you're looking especially for best of 3 decks, seeing what's kind of cool and go from there. Lastly, what I want to do, I always do this, sorry. So like this is cool. From Untapped, we can see what are the most played cards right now. So in the games played right now in best of 1, the cards with the highest win rate, Night of Dusk Shadow, so decks with that, Sheoldred. So a lot of the black cards are being really powerful right now, as well as the red. In terms of cards being included, Cut Down, Liliana, Sheoldred are the most represented cards. So we're seeing just a lot of the Rakdos-based cards, whether it be mono black, mono red, or kind of hybrid decks like that. So early indication, if you want to kind of go against the meta, this is what you need to be kind of aware of in attacking in that respect. In any case, I'm going to wrap this up like I said. Appreciate if you can, drop a like, comment, and subscribe on the video. I will be back with more gameplay as well as these meta videos throughout the week. And we'll kind of get back into the run of things. In any case, thanks for watching. Hope you have a great one and stay safe out there.